Hi class. Today's question is, would India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh be better off if they were still under the British rule? And in researching this question, I came across an article in Quartz. It's an international news site, and it was published on August 15, 2017, and I will put the reference in my post. That's where I got a lot of my information from. One thing I was thinking about in all of this is the impact that the British had on India when they were ruling, and so the British made up 0.05% of the population of India. So they made up a very small amount of the population, but they had a huge negative impact on the country. There was great stories of racism. They sought to divide the country and not unite it. The caste system became more rigid during the time of the British rule, and the lines between the Muslims and Hindus deepened. So the country was divided further and more than it ever had been when the British took over. And if you think about it, the Muslims had been living in India for 1,000 years and never had any atrocities that we've seen in the last century. So it's obvious that the British had some impact on that. During the time of British rule, they instituted censorship of the Indian press, but they did not censor the British press in India. So huge fines and legal ramifications if anything negative was said about Great Britain. The justice system was discriminatory. If there was a death of an Indian by the hands of a British person, then it was an accident. But if it was reversed and a British man died because of an Indian, then it was a capital crime. So there's some inequalities there. The British instituted 11 major famines. This is the biggest part to me. They killed 35 million people in India. And we know that this is a part of the British campaign or their rule because there have been 0 famines since independence. Killing 35 million people, to me, constitutes grounds for not being allowed to rule that country anymore. So the article that I referenced earlier in Quartz has a quote that I wanted to leave you with, and this is Shashi Tharoor. He's a member of the India's parliament. He's an Indian politician. And he said, quote, "What had once been one of the richest and most industrialized economies of the world, which together with China accounted for almost 75% of world industrial output in 1750, had been reduced by the depredations of imperial rule to one of the poorest, most backward, illiterate, and diseased societies on earth by the time of independence in 1947. I believe that they are better off not having British rule."